بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Inshallah, in our today's Seerah session, we'll continue from where we left off last week. I will very quickly summarize some of the things so we will have a connection with the previous lecture, inshallah. Last week we were talking about the third phase of the da'wah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Mecca. And before we go into the third phase, just want to remind all of us that how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's da'wah was went through different stages. The first stage was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was commanded to do the da'wah to the close people to him, whether they were his family relatives or tribesmen, kindred, whosoever, as Allah Azza wa Jal says in Surah Al-Shu'ara, that anzir ashiyatak al-aqrabin, meaning that warn the one who are aqrabin, meaning the one who are close ones to you. And once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had enough people around him, meaning enough people who accepted Islam, Allah Azza wa Jal commanded Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam now go openly within the society. So it was not just close people, family members, rather now the whole society was targeted. Look, even when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was talking to the people who were close to him, the society in general were aware of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was calling for Islam. He was calling himself to be the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has given him the message. The thing that really changed when the ayah says فَاسْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرْ وَعَلَى الْمُشْرِكِينَ, that go openly, proclaim, and the فَاسْدَعْ, the صَدَعْ in Arabic, it means like something that cracks. Even the word for headache is used with صَدَعْ. So this means that the idea that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam after that was presenting to society was cracking the society, meaning the way the society was going. Now the seerah goes of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we can see that is going into a different stage. Now the da'wah changed to now this society was targeted, not only just some individuals, whether they were family members, whether they were friends, or even the one who were not directly related to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now this da'wah was targeting the society. That's why we see that different ahkam the revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were related to the things which were societal norms that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was targeting, whether it was about burying the little girls alive, or whether it's about the economy of that time. In the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when it says وَيْلُ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ, that woe to the people who cheat in their dealings of economy. When they give less. When they take the equal amount. And on and on. And then we see ayat like تَبَّتْ يَدَا أَبِي لَهَبٍ وَتَبٍ, talking about a leader of the Quraysh, even though he was the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but the ayat are targeted towards them, targeted towards Walid bin Mughira, another leader, or Akhnas bin Shurayq, and on and on. So that's what it means by when the ayah says فَاسْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرُ عَلَى الْمُشْرِكِينَ, referring to a specific targeted ideas of the society now. Because when you target the society this way, and this is what we learned from the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when those ideas were targeted, it means that now the people were told that we have to live by the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatsoever the ways of life they are living with, there has to be replaced what Allah has revealed. That's what Rasulullah was calling for. And then we talked about last week also, after that, within that phase of proclaiming the da'wah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was commanded now to, besides the Quraysh or the Meccans, go to the other Arab tribes. And we talked about a few of them last week, as there's a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions. And we talked about some of the names like this, Banu Kalb, known as Banu Abdullah, Banu Hanifa, Banu Amr bin Sa'sa, Banu Shayban, and on and on. These are the tribes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached out to. And also individuals who are outside the Quraysh as well. Now, today inshallah, we'll start talking about, which is mentioned in the book, the first and the second pledge of Aqabah. Now, when we're referring to that, today probably we'll only talk about the first pledge, and next week inshallah we'll talk about the second one. What led to the second one also. So when we go into that, there are certain things that we should remember, that after the 10th year of the prophethood, when Rasulullah entered into the 11th year of the prophethood, there were some people from Medina who came to Mecca. And there are people who used to come for Hajj. As we know that the Hajj was an activity or act of ibadah that existed prior to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was appointed as prophet, because that's a sunnah of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam that continued on. And the people of Mecca, in reality, they were supposed to be on the deen of Ismail alayhi salam, which they messed it up, as we talked about in the earlier talks of the seerah, when we were discussing that Amr bin Luhay, he's the one who brought some of the gods from when he was visiting Syria, and he's the one who brought gods, mean those statues that he liked, that they are nice to worship with, and they used to look up to the people in Syria because they were Ahlul Kitab as well. And when he brought him in, and he was a scholarly person, a person who was respected in the society, people started following him, and then they started worshipping those statues one by one. They started adding on to Hubal, or Lat, or Manat, or Uzza, and there were smaller fake gods or the statues that they were worshipping. And they used to say, oh, this is just a connection to Allah. We are using them as a connection. It's not that we really think that these are the gods, but still, they were making partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the idea. Now, so now when all this da'wah, the Hajj was going on, people used to come from different tribes around the Arabian Peninsula. And the people from Yathrib came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to do something. He used to go to these Arabian tribes who were coming into Mecca to perform the Hajj. And he would go in a manner, in a secrecy manner, meaning the others would not know. Because remember that, we have to think when reading the seerah, things have to be connected. We have to know the circumstances Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was going through. He was going through very difficult times. This is why the year of 10th year we are referring to as Amul Huzn, not only because of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam lost his wife, beloved wife Khadija radiallahu anha, and Abu Talib, his uncle, but rather the things became tougher and tougher for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. So now at that time when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was approaching these tribes, he made sure that others do not know, the people of the Quraysh, the leaders of the Quraysh especially, because they were the ones who were creating all the hardships. So he used to go in a manner that the Meccans would not know that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam what he was doing. And he would go with Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu an, or Ali radiallahu an, and he used to go and meet the people over there. As we talked about, there were different ones like Banu Shayban, Rasulullah went to, and Banu Amr bin Sa'sa, and so on. But now from the Medina, when all these people who rejected Rasulullah even outside the Arabian Peninsula, the people of Medina, they were, or which was used to be referred as Yathrib. Before Rasulullah migrated, it used to be referred as Yathrib. We'll continue to call it Medina because it's easier for us to relate to. Instead of, if I say Yathrib, maybe it's become difficult sometimes to recall what we're talking about. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam entered into the 11th year of the Hijrah, there were 6 people who were from Yathrib, and all 6 of them belonged to the tribe of Khazraj. Okay, so they were all from Banu Khazraj. They came to Rasul. They came there. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He approached them, and when Rasulullah, they heard Rasulullah talk to them about to these 6 people who came from Yathrib, and they are the one who accepted the Islam through Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when they heard about what the deen was about. And I'll talk about how it happened and why they were hurrying up so much to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam compared to the others. So these 6 people were from, as I said, they're from Khazraj. They are famous Sahaba, As'ad bin Zurara, Auf bin Harith, Rafi' bin Malik, and then Qutbah bin Amir, and Uqba bin Amir, and Jabir bin Abdullah. These are the 6 from Khazraj, from different clans. So what you see in the parentheses here, the names from Bani Najjar or Bani Salama, and on and on. These are the clans within the Khazraj. As, for example, when I say clan, it's a sub-tribe within the tribe. Like for example, when we say Quraysh, within the Quraysh, there were many different sub-clans you can think of. As we say Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Bani Hashim. When we say Bani Hashim is part of Quraysh. Yeah? Or from Bani Abdul Munaf. There's another great grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the son of Qusay. And the other son of Qusay was Abdul Dar. And this is where the split happened about the taking care of or leadership of the Mecca. Now, Rasulullah was from Banu Abdul Manaf, but that's what means by when we say in English, if I call them clans or sub-tribes, whichever terminology you want to use. That's why you're seeing, for example, Banu Najjar. Banu Najjar means that it is from within the Khazraj tribe. We have one of the class of the tribe is Banu Najjar. Okay? So all 6 who came were from Banu Najjar. Now, they accepted Islam because they heard from the Jews. All the time they heard, a prophet is coming. And this prophet will come and he will be literally slaughtering you. Like the Ad and Thamud, or the Ad and the Iram. They were destroyed. They were smitten by the Adab. So they were saying, a prophet will come among us and this is how we're going to do. Now, when they met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right away, they were hurrying to meet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because they heard of the Prophet and they want to meet Rasulullah and accept Islam before even the Yahud. They will accept the Rasulullah sallallahu as a Prophet. But as we see that later on, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did migrate to Medina, the attitude of the Yahud was very different. As a matter of fact, many of them rejected Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there were some who became Muslim, and some of them became great Muslims. But there were many who did not, even though they recognized Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam very clearly, to the point that Allah Azza wa Jalla says that يَعْرِفُونَهُ كَمَا يَعْرِفُونَ أَبْنَاهُم, that they know him, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they recognize him as they recognize their sons. They can tell he is the Prophet. As when Rasulullah migrated to Medina, we see that when the leaders of the Yahud over there, his name was Huyay bin Akhtab. And Rasulullah sallallahu later on married to his daughter, Safiya bint Huyay bin Akhtab also. This Huyay bin Akhtab, he was in Medina, and his brother Abu Yasir came, and he told his brother that when the migration happened, inshallah we'll go in more detail, but just want to bring it up so we know. He said that the Prophet has come, or they're saying the Prophet has come. What should we do? He said, let's go and see who this person is. So both of them went, and Safiya, who's a wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam later on, she was young at that time, and she saw his uncle and the father. They were going out, and they left, and then when they came back, their faces were very down. And then now these two brothers start talking to each other, Abu Yasir and Huyay bin Akhtab. And the brother said to Huyay that, is he the one? Is he the Prophet that we're waiting for? And his response was, yes. Are you sure that this is the one? He fulfills all the signs of the Prophet? He says, yes. So he said, okay, what are you going to do? He said, this is the one, but we're going to reject him. We're going to reject him. Why? Because of their hatred. They were hoping that they will be from the Arabs. Because these Yahud, the Jews we're talking about, they came to Medina from different areas and they resided over there. And this idea of that this is the Prophet was not from their tribes, that was the thing that pushed them away, and many of them rejected Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyways, going back, so this is why Rasulullah when he was talking to them, he said, of what tribe are you? Rasulullah asked, and their reply was they were from Khazraj. And Rasulullah asked them, are you allies with the Jews? And they said yes, because there were two tribes, main big tribes in Medina, or Yathrib at that time, Aus and Khazraj. And they used to fight with each other all the time, to the extent that there were battles among them which went on for decades. And this was the time they even lost their leadership. And they were really looking for a leadership in Medina as well. So Allah Azza wa Jal created a situation in Medina, a political vacuum that was created, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the one, and the Sahaba, when they migrated to Medina, they were able to fill that political vacuum that was created over there. And the people were willing to accept the da'wah of Islam over there. So when Rasulullah was talking to these, he asked them about if they are the allies or not. And they were the allies, the Khazraj were the allies was a tribe in Medina. The name of the tribe was Banu Qaynuqa. And we'll talk about this whole Banu Qaynuqa deal also what happened with them in Medina when Rasulullah migrated. But this is what they said. And then Rasulullah sallallahu offered them Islam, and these people, they accepted the Islam that Rasulullah sallallahu offered to them. And they embraced Islam and said to Rasulullah sallallahu, we have left our community, for no tribe is so divided by hatred and rancor as they are. Allah may cement our ties through you. And as we see, Allah Azza wa Jal even talks about the Aws and Khazraj. And this was referred to, even though this ayah was revealed later in the Medina time period, but it is referring to the very same thing, that how divided the Aws and Khazraj were prior to Islam reached to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that hold on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the Quran. And when we say Quran, automatically it means the whole Islam also. So Quran is the one that commands us to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the rest of the deen as well. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding them, وَذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ كُنْتُمْ عَدَاءً. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding them that the ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you were the enemy. فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَتِهِ إِخْوَانًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling them that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought the hearts of these people together and made them brothers. That was the ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, the very same people of Aws and Khazraj, without Islam, they were at the brink of entering into the hellfire. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us in Surah Al-Anfal, وَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ لَوْ أَنْفَقْتَ مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا مَا أَلَّفْتَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهُ أَلَّفَ بَيْنَهُمْ إِنَّهُ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. Allah is reminding the same Aws and Khazraj and the Muslims in general that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala united their hearts. If they would have spent everything on the earth to bring their hearts together, they would have not done it. The only thing that brought their hearts together was Islam. And we can feel that even here in this room or on the campus, you guys see that, if you feel that, or in general in the whole world, that we see that how connected we are, even though the world is out there to make sure that we stay divided. But the moment a person says, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, he becomes our brother. And we feel the brotherhood. Even on campus, you guys feel that probably you don't know a brother or a sister, never met that brother or sister, and the moment you realize the brother or sister is a Muslim, you say, La ilaha, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to each other. And you feel right away a connection. Because by default in our mind, we know, we share all those things now. The moment we say Assalamu alaikum to each other, that we are connected. I don't have to mention to him the behavior of a Muslim. We already agree on. That's why this La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, that brings the hearts together. And that's what it did to the people at that time as well, and it will continue to do it until we die. Now, there is a subject here that happened. After these 6 people who became Muslim, they went back to their community to do the da'wah. The Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he married Aisha radiallahu anha in the 11th year of the prophethood. So I'm going to use the word year of the prophethood prior to the hijrah, right? We know that after that, the years are referred as first year of hijrah, after hijrah, second year, and third year, and so on. And the first 13 years are referred as the years of prophethood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, this subject of Aisha getting engaged to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the age of 6 and then getting married at the age of 9. And there are many hadith, okay, about the subject. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam married her at the age of 6 and then the marriage was was occurred. A wedding was happening when she was 9 years old. Sorry. Now, you find that when you are doing the da'wah to non-Muslims, many a times they will bring up this issue, yeah, and it becomes some sort of the conflict happens. Non-Muslims are talking to the Muslims, and Muslims sometimes they try to define it differently than what the ahadith are mentioning. As I said in the previous slide, I'm not going to go into detail of this subject itself because that will require a different kind of a discussion that is needed. But I want us to at least understand. This is what the hadith says. And for us, one thing to remember is whether it says Rasulullah made her at the age of 9, some people try to prove it as 12, others will try to prove it at 18, and on and on. Who's the one who's going to define what age is appropriate? Who's the one going to define that? If our mind is going to define, we see that even the society, the way people are trying to make this as a big thing, they used to make it at a much younger age in the past as well. Their own great-great-grandfathers, you will find them, they had marriages that are happening at a very young age. So who's the one who's going to decide that what age is appropriate and what is not? And it's not only for the marriage. It goes back to every action that we undertake. Who's the one who's going to decide what is the right action, what is the wrong action? Who's going to decide if you're going to have the bathroom should be mixed or not mixed? Yeah? And the people will start going to different floors to use the bathrooms now. So somebody has to decide, right? Now, if we leave it to the human beings, they change their mind, their decisions about many things. They will change because of the time they are in, or which is called zaman wa makan, the time and the place, or they're impacted by the cultures, or they're impacted by what kind of a socio-economical status a person has, and on and on. So they make different rules for different people, different times, different places, and hence, humans in reality, we understand that they don't really have comprehensive knowledge of all the human beings to make rules which are just for everybody. Hence, we need the rules and regulation must come from the creator of the heavens and the earth, who knows everything, who's unbiased, who's not dependent on anything, who's not looking for pleasing the people. Yeah? So he's the only one who can give the rights, or the rules and regulations. Now, about the marriage thing also, as I said, if somebody needs to discuss this, we can talk later. It's no big deal. I'm just trying to mention that what historically has happened. And the funny thing is, even the kuffar of the Makkah who hated Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way they were dealing with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they never pointed out this is an issue. They never pointed out this was ever an issue because that was a societal norm also. And that's one thing. Other thing is, Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who commanded Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to marry Aisha. This marriage was a different kind of a marriage. It was the command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Aisha radiallahu anha was married to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now, I'll just leave it as is, but just to mention the fact that happened, and we move on. But if there's any questions, we can talk about this later. Now, so the 6 people who became Muslim. Now, the following year, there were a group of 12 people came to Mecca to meet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That included 5 of those 6 who became Muslim with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam the year before. Okay? And then they brought 7 more different people. So these are the 6, 5 from the 5 came, and Jabir bin Abdullah, he did not come with those 6. Does not mean that there was something wrong with him or something. He was not just coming back. He did not come back to Mecca next year. But they came with the different set of 7 people. And so these are the new 7. Among these 7, 5 were from Khazraj, and from Khazraj, while the other 2 were from the tribe of Aus, Al-Aus. As I mentioned, there are 2 big tribes, 2 main tribes. They existed at that time in Yathrib, Khazraj and Aus. And now these 2, they brought their people who had some say among their people. When these 12 came, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they became Muslim as well. Now the 6 came back, they were 12, and there were probably more people who were Muslim as well. There are many hadith on this subject that talks about that This is one of the hadith which is mentioned in Bukhari, and that talks about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He offered them Islam, they became Muslim, and then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took a pledge or bay'ah. Bay'ah is the term that is used in the ahadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took the bay'ah, and let's see, this bay'ah is different than becoming or entering into the fold of Islam. Becoming a Muslim is something different. This is not a bay'ah. Bay'ah is something else. Bay'ah is for, or a pledge of allegiance is taken for doing something. These are the actions you will be doing. And these 12 they gave the bay'ah to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that included, the part of the bay'ah was saying, they took the allegiance that not to join anything in worship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there is no shirk they will be involved in. Second thing was they will not steal. Third thing was not to commit illegal sexual intercourse, or meaning that zina will not be done. Whether married or not married, the zina they will not be committing. They will not kill their children, and not to accuse an innocent person, and not to be disobedient to do good deeds. When there is anything good has been commanded, that they should be doing. Now look, this is the time when Islam was being revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There were not that many ahkam, rulings were revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? Because at that time, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he was not the one who was ruling over the people yet. As we know in the seerah, when Rasulullah migrated from Mecca to Medina, that's the time when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he became a leader, he became a ruler, he became the one who was implementing the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now, once he was in that phase, now the rules started being revealed to Rasulullah. As they were getting engaged in any new action, the rule was given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And when I say that, we should keep this in mind, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was dealing with the people when he was in Medina according to the wahi, meaning whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was revealing to him, whether in the form of the Quran, which is wahi matlu, which is we do for the tilawah also, we recite in the salah and these things, which is the Quran, or the wahi which was in the form of the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We must and should remember that when we say wahi is not only Quran. Sunnah is also part of the wahi. It was revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not acting according to his own whims or desires. He was acting as Allah commanded. So this is why we say, when we say the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the hadith which is referred to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it means the actions he undertook, right? Whatever actions he did, they were according to the wahi. When he spoke, commanded the people do things, that was according to the wahi. Actions were happening in front of him and he stayed silent, meaning he approved an action by silence, that is considered as wahi. So these are all considered as wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's a subject of its own to understand the authority of the sunnah. Sometime inshallah, when appropriate time is there, we can discuss that subject as well on the side. But, so this was, there were only 5-6 things are mentioned here. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded them because these are the ahkam that were revealed at that time. Okay? And even, of course, it's talking about the ibadah and all those things. It automatically include the salah and those things. Anything good that is commanded already, that they will be doing it. Okay. And then also Rasulullah added, whoever among you fulfills his pledge will be rewarded by Allah, and whoever indulges in any one of them except ascription of doing the shirk, and get the punishment in this world. And that punishment will be the kafara for their sin. And if one indulges in any of them and Allah conceals his sin, it is up to him to forgive or punish him. And Ubadah bin Samit radiallahu anhu said that so we swore allegiance to these, meaning they gave the bay'ah to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on these things that Rasulullah mentioned. Now, after this first bay'ah of the Aqabah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent Mus'ab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu. Okay? As the, if you want to call them, as the ambassador from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And his job was to go there and teach the people about the Islam. Second, to give them practical guidance, how to live according to Islam. And also to propagate Islam, which is, he was doing the tabligh of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was carrying the message so people will accept Islam. So he is working on a very important task. Because these people from Medina, Yathrib, they gave the bay'at to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam here without any condition. If you remember, there were tribes to whom Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam carried the message, and they were asking for different kinds of conditions, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam rejected them. Now, these people of Medina, they accepted Islam and they gave the bay'at to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam without any kind of condition, as our hadith talks about, that included later on the second bay'ah especially, that they will protect Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They will make sure that nobody will be able to harm Rasulullah and the Muslims when they go to Medina. But anyways, that's next week's talk. Now, Mus'ab ibn Umair radiallahu anh, it's important to understand why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam chose Mus'ab to be the one who will be going over there. Number one, he was young and energetic. It's very good for us on the side. I would highly recommend, read about Mus'ab ibn Umair radiallahu anh. He was one of the greatest Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you'll find, this is why many of the parents, they name their kids Mus'ab. It's not because it's a difficult name to pronounce, but rather this is a name given to our young ones, because we hope that they will act like him. Similarly, the parents, you find them, whether they have daughters or sons, they name them after the Sahaba, after the Anbiya. So that we will be able to emulate their lives or try to be like them. Whatever characteristics we can follow, good characteristics from them, we must. So this is one of the reasons that you find them. But he played a huge role in the da'wah of Islam. So when Rasulullah chose him, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to choose people who were the best for the specific job that he was choosing them for. So it was for the da'wah. Mus'ab was the best person at that time. Why? He was young. Why else? He was eloquent in the language. Remember that. Arabic language is very important for the da'wah of Islam. And especially at that time, because they understood the miracle or the mu'jiza of the Quran very clearly. It was in the language. And the third thing was, he was from the family of Bani Abdul Dar. I mentioned a little bit about when I was saying Rasulullah was from the family of Bani Abdul Manaf. He was a son of Qusay, and Qusay had two sons, and one of them was Abdul Dar. He's the one who did not get the leadership from Qusay, and that caused some friction among those two, the family members of the later family members among them. Yeah, that's a separate story, and we have discussed it already, but just want to remind you. But still, he was from a very respectful family among the Quraysh. Okay? And besides that, he was from a very affluent family. His mother was one of the richest women of Mecca. And Mus'ab ibn Umair radiallahu an, he, just very briefly, I will talk about that, even though I asked you guys, you should read by yourselves, but he was like 18 or 20 years old when he became Muslim, entered into the fold of Islam. And he only listened to Rasulullah, a few of the ayat from the Quran that was sufficient for him to become Muslim. But before Islam, he was living a very luxurious life, affluent life you can think of. A life that money was not an issue for him at all. Even at that time, his clothes, his perfume, his shoes were imported things, whether they were from Yemen or from Sham or different areas of the world at that time. There are reports talk about he used to put the itar on him or the perfume, and if he passes by, people would know, oh, Mus'ab was here. And he was one of the, I don't know how to say it, for the women, He is the person they would love to marry him. A person who was rich, and he was from the beauty, was a handsome man, Mus'ab ibn Umair. And some of the hadith talk about that he was also had a similarity when it comes to the way he looked, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. As some of the reports talk about when he was martyred in Uhud, that there was rumor that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was martyred or killed at that time. And some of the reports say that because Mus'ab radiallahu anhu was the one who was martyred. But anyways, that's a side story. Now, this is another thing, that he was rich from a powerful family, and also because of Islam, he went through a lot of difficult times. Look, let me just go to a point and I'll explain why I'm mentioning that. And he migrated to Habasha twice already. And he knew how to survive in new conditions. See, these points, if you look into it, when he was sent to Medina, it's a new place he's at. New circumstances, new weather, climate, and all those things. So he knew how to cope with new environments as he has been to Habasha. Habasha was very different than the Jaziratul Arab or the Arabian Peninsula. So he knew that. Second, he's not the one who will sway away because of if somebody offers him some wealth or bribe him. He left all the wealth that he had because of Islam. So that was not an issue for him. And he was from a big family, so people, when they talk to him, they would give him respect when they're talking to him. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam picked a person who was best for the job at that time. Okay? And inshallah, when he was doing the da'wah and how his da'wah went, we'll talk about next week. And if there is, inshallah, and we'll talk about second pledge also, and the impact and the result of the second pledge before the migration. Inshallah, we'll talk about next week. And if there is any questions or comments about the talk that was given today, I would love to answer you guys if I can.